As I always say, the men and women that work in Barbuda is an integral part of the police force and the fire department. And I always see it's my responsibility to come and make a visit. And as much as the year has been busy and so many activities has been happening on the mainland, I have decided to come and bring my Christmas cheer, my Christmas message directly to the officers in Barbuda. Traditionally, we have our event in Antigua where we have our Christmas message from the commissioner, where we have all the different things that come with it. My message to them, some goodies, those type of activities in Antigua. And I decided this year I'm going to do a similar one, not at the magnitude, obviously, but I would make my visit to Barbuda and spend some time with the officers, and that has been well received, and I think I appreciate it as much as they have appreciated it, the opportunity that they could be with, with the commissioner for that weekend.
Let us zero in before we touch on Barbuda. You're completing basically, we're close to the end of another year. This has been quite a year in Antigua, Barbuda. We had so many events, we had so many things taking place. When you look back, the amount of work that you had to do, how would you just summarize it?
If I would quote one of my senior officers who have been in the force for over 40 years, he said this is the most hectic year he ever had to experience as a police officer, and I think I concur with him. This year was unprecedented, difficult in terms of the amount of assignments we had.
Right.
We had, for instance, hosting the SEEDS conference.
Right.
That was a very monumental task on our small organization. And then just after that, we had to deal with ICC World Cup. We had to do with Caribbean Premier League, the CPL. Then we had our own carnival, our own police week. Then we had to go into independence celebration. So for the entire year, and prior to that, before that, we had our normal sailing week, our Labor Day, and the other activities that comes with it. So when you look in totality, it was a busy year for policing. And then, what happened in the middle of the year, sometime around the end of June going into July, we had this upsurge where quite a few small business places were robbed by persons. So it all added on to the number of responsibilities that was thrust upon us. But I'm happy at the end of the year that we withstood the pressure, and I think we are ending in a better place than where we were, especially in the middle of the year. So overall, we are thankful for what we have achieved, and we have to thank all our stakeholders because we couldn't do it on our own. The government came in, they played their part. The private sector came in and played a part, and another entity that played a great part for us, and I was not afraid to share that at our Christmas message, is the church community. So many pastors would meet us and say, we are praying for you all, we are encouraging you all. So even the church community came on board and prayed for officers and continued to support the police officers. The general public, they were right there with us. A number of the high-profile cases that we end up investigating, we got assistance from the public. A number of the firearms that we took from the streets was public involvement. So the public was there rallying with us. Sometimes just the ordinary man on the street would meet you and give you some information that helped you to solve a crime. So overall, as difficult as it was, I think we are still ending in a thankful mood. It doesn't say all our problems are over, it doesn't say all our challenges are behind us, but it gives us motivation to face 2025 with that vigor and with that energy.
You have just, I will call it the graduation of a few officers, and I know one of the cry you have always had is that you need more officers. With these batch of new officers, how will this be able to help and add, or there's still always a cry for more officers?
That the injection of the new officers, we had 69 new officers, and that too was an additional burden for the year, training all these officers. It was a big batch, but it has helped greatly. Great. All the officers has been assigned to operational departments because we know the operational departments are the ones always crying for additional help. So out of the 69 officers, none of them were placed in any administrative responsibility. All of them went to operational departments, including Barbuda. Right. I came and I said, we are trying to train some persons so that we can increase the number in Barbuda. And 3 of the new officers were assigned to Barbuda. So their complement of officers between the fire and the regular has been, uplifted a little. There is still room for improvement. So obviously we will be going after some new recruits in the new year. And once again, I will use the opportunity to appeal to my applicants from Barbuda, and I'm seeing some interest. I understood there is quite a few young persons that are interested. I had the opportunity to interview an applicant yesterday while I was there, and he expressed the interest. I arranged for him to come and have the interview. I got quite a few information, and just this morning I got one of the forms that I will get into him before I leave here so that he can fill in all the other information that I wanted. So there is room for improvement, but we are thankful for the injection that we got. And I think when I spoke to the heads of those operational departments, they are quite pleased with the additional assistance they have now with more personnel in their department.
Let us zero in a little bit on Barbuda here. We have realized, based on developments that is taking place around Barbuda, not just in one specific area, there have been increase in the population here in Barbuda. And even though that has increased, you just alluded to the fact that there are 3 new officers here. We also had the opening of the Barbuda International Airport, which again calls for what plans or what are you planning to do in regards to the more improvement of officers? Because you're looking at, we have the fire, there must have fire police station at the airport, and we also is a community in case of anything. You also need officers have to be at the airport, and yet still we have a community. What are you doing to help in that area?
Well, as I said, there is room for improvement still. We still have some more work to do. For instance, the complement for Barbuda between the fire department and their regular officers is just about 19. But we need to up the number. However, the challenge we have in Barbuda is accommodation. And I am saying it here, and I'll be saying it again. We have to address the accommodation issue in Barbuda, because right now we do not have the sufficient space. So even if you want to say, okay, let us bring the number to at least 25, where am I going to put the 6 additional officers, providing that they are not from Barbuda? You might get a little ease if the individuals are from Barbuda and they decide, well, we don't need special accommodation. We can stay home, we can stay for our parents. That's a different situation. But if you don't, if you bring people from Antigua, they have to have some place to live. And that is the challenge over there. And I hope in the new year that will be the thrust. The police force, we are passionate about having a new station in Barbuda. And we just want, let the government know that, let the other stakeholders that normally assist, even because the private sector sometimes work along with the government to get it done. But that is how we're going to improve the number. Because you rightly say, the population is growing. The activities, you can see, they are growing. But with that brings the policing challenge. And we want to be in a position that we can meet both demands. The airport, so now we must have aerodrome firefighting capability. And you cannot have an airport of that magnitude without fire officers there. But also you have a community, and you have to have firemen in a position to respond to any structural fire in the community. Same thing with the police. Because of the magnitude of persons that are traveling, I mean, you remember the old days in Barbuda, we would get 1 flight in the morning, 1 in the afternoon.
That's right.
On Friday, they had about 10 flights.
Yeah.
And that does not include the private jets that came in.
That's right.
So you'll find there is much more activity. So you need to have police presence and security presence at the airport. But at the same time, you cannot neglect the community. You still have to do your patrols. You still have to visit different areas. You still have to be in a position to respond to the community report. So there is a need for additional staff, but mainly we need the accommodation to accommodate the new officers that would want to add to the staff.
Okay. And I understand. As I said, and we must still commend them for the work that they have been doing.
And that's what I'm saying. Looking at their statistics, they are doing quite well.
Right.
In spite of the limitations, in spite of the conditions that they have to work under, they are doing quite well. I looked at their criminal record this morning. You can see that they are taking care of things. And even my interaction, because when I come to Barbuda, I interact with all groups.
Right, that's right. That's right.
So even my interaction with the community, you're getting a positive feedback that, yes, there's more that can be done, but generally the public is satisfied with the work that they are putting in And I want to commend the officers in Barbuda that in spite of their challenges, in spite of their limitations, I want to commend them for the work that they are doing in Barbuda.
You know, sometimes the Barbudans get a little bit concerned in regards to sometimes there may be somebody who committed a little crime in Antigua, and then they fear that they can just jump on a ferry, come to Barbuda. I don't know what part, police officer, but have you, being the commissioner, have encountered any report that this can be a fact that, there are criminals who commit crime, then they have to end up here. And then some have great concern that we realize the amount of persons, we don't want to discriminate anyone, but have to be going to the police to, is checking in when you commit a crime. So have you been realizing there's an observer that here in Barbuda?
You don't have a big problem, but it's something that we have to continue to be vigilant. And I think even when I was speaking to the officers this morning, I was making the same mention that you have to be mindful of who is coming in. Right. Because yes, they are all, persons coming in here for employment, genuine construction workers or the private sector persons that come here to do some work. That you will expect that. But you have to know who. And there comes the responsibility of the community. They have to know who are some of those persons and the bad players so that they can share that information with the police, because you do not want a situation where somebody is coming here just to take advantage of the situation in Barbuda, because we might be a little laid back in Barbuda. We might, don't take that kind of security precautions that some persons might do. But you don't want nobody coming and taking advantage of that lifestyle that you have and that culture that you have in Barbuda. So the community have to be mindful. I remember even mentioning it to one of the immigration officers that you have to be mindful as to who's coming in so that you can share that information, because we don't want Barbuda to ever become a haven for criminals coming across.
I know you was here, I think, maybe earlier this year, sometime last year, and we look at the situation in Barbuda in regards to the road and trafficking and these sort of things. And for some reason, I don't want to say bless God, but all things work together for good, that our roads were really in a deplorable condition. So that would not have caused any need for a lot of speed. You would have to be not really wise, right? So we were slowing down. But as you would have seen now, there are road works putting in place. I know you have a traffic department. What plans would be put in place to make sure now the road is better, that there are really things in place to make sure that we don't start getting vehicle accidents?
Well, I'm happy to see the improvement in the road, and as you said, that is what we were clamoring for the last time. But at the same time, as I say, with every privilege, there is responsibility. So obviously, we have to drive a little, I would say much more careful when we have those roads. And I see the concrete road that is coming down. And if you get that stretch going all the way to River, you have a highway that comes through the village. Now, I am still not satisfied with the amount of signs. This is the responsibility of the Transport Board, and once again, I will make a plea to them that we need to address the signage in Barbuda. I was coming from Riverside on a little walk this morning, and I see one of the signs that was there since maybe the old sign, a very old sign. And I'm saying Transport Board have a responsibility to upgrade the signage in Barbuda. The traffic department, Mr. Kwame came here with me the last time, and he's willing to come back to do some lectures, to do some town hall meeting, to continue to educate the persons as to how to drive. Because what you don't want is to have the good roads now, and then we start to lose lives or lose limbs. And because I always try to say to persons, a traffic accident have some consequences that you do not anticipate. You lost lives, that's the ultimate one, but then you lost limbs. You have serious injury, you might not have the finances to meet that medical bill, or the little finance you have might have to go into medical bills and so on. There is other implications when it comes to vehicle accidents. So thankful we get in the roads, but at the same time, let us be mindful of how we drive. Just as we used to drive careful on all those roads that bad now, let us maintain that culture of driving carefully, not because it's nice concrete road.
There is also, and I'm just sharing because, being in the position which I am, concerned at two things. We as the Ministerial Association just had a meeting, and the concern of what is allowed in regards to is the grams. I can't remember the amount of grams to smoke. 50, okay. Right. And where persons are allowed to smoke and who also is allowed. Can you just, as the Commissioner of Police, explain that as a informative educational purpose? Like, can a person just go to the side of the road and be doing it in the public without any fear? Can they just be walking and doing it? Can they just get on well, we don't have bus system here in Barbuda. But explain that to us, and then, I don't know if I want to throw this question to you, which I know if you forget I will always remember. And also in regards to the noise. Barbuda is a small place. We are also one village. We are also very flat. So if I turn up my music here too loud, from a shop point of view, a bar point of view, and a lot of folks have been crying. So I want you to address those, what is allowed, what is not allowed.
Let me deal with the second one first,
okay,
shortly. Is in terms of the noise. There's a Noise Abatement Act. There's control of the noise level that you can have in our open community. That is something that the police can police in terms of responding to those reports. Because you can be a nuisance to persons, because even some of the music that you hear and the language in the music is totally unacceptable to some persons, and you don't want that to be. If you want to listen to that in the privacy of your home, that's one thing.
Right.
But they're putting it on the public street. So there are legislation that we can handle the noise problem in Barbuda. That's not an issue. The one that is creating the little confusion is the amendment to the Drug Act. We have a Drug Act in Antigua. Previously, it was prohibited to have any form of cannabis. Let me deal with the cannabis.
Right.
The legislation was amended, and the amendment says that anybody between the ages of 18 upwards can have as much as 15 grams of marijuana in their possession. But it also makes provision to the 4 trees for household. But the problem we have, I think we are kind of addressing it now, was the smoking in public. In the legislation, it prohibits smoking cannabis in the public. When the legislation came out first, there was a system of enforcing that smoking in public, which was very complicated. The government has the wisdom of our lobbying, because the police was lobbying, or the stakeholders was lobbying, because people just think because you have 15 grams, you can smoke anywhere. And the recent amendment to the legislation is saying that there is, yet again it repeated, no smoking of cannabis in the public. But if you do, you are now liable on summary conviction. That means you can go before a magistrate and pay $5,000. It does not have that difficult or that complicated system where you had to warn the person and then come back and give them a second warning and then issue a ticket and all these things. It is that is out of the way. So the police can take immediate action if you are smoking in the public. What we are saying to persons, yes, you get the privilege, if you want to call it so. You believe in smoking cannabis, you want to smoke cannabis, it is for your private use, not in the public. So that issue of persons smoking in the public can be addressed easier now by the police, and we will. So this complication that it had before, I think the new amendment assists law enforcement. So we can easily take action for persons smoking once, because the law is clear now, or easier to enforce, I would say.
What about the age? Because sometimes you see...
It is 18 and upward. So if the person is under 18, no, they are not allowed to.
They're not allowed.
And I think that is where the community have to get involved, where the parents have to get involved. Because if you are a parent and you feel you can have your 4 trees in your household, but that does not have, you don't have to give it to your under 18-year-old child to use, or give it to them to take to school, because that is where the problem is coming. And it's one of the things that all of us have to come on board. And I'm glad that you said the church ministries and them are seeing it. I want the schools to see it. I want to see the community on a whole see that it does not worth it to have those young persons, they're destroying their lives. So the smoking in the public, we will be able to address that in a more effective way going forward.
Okay. As we continue here, we look at, and I'm just going to know, because as you know, we're on all our media platforms. We had all the media house connected with us. During this year, we had really observed in the crime situation, and in regards to youth gang violence. How have you seen a decrease in that presently?
Yeah, since with all the measures that was taken from all stakeholders here again, as I said, we had a day of prayer
Right.
from the church community. We had the government, and especially with the Prime Minister taking the lead, having that type of interaction with the gangs, the different gangs, giving them opportunities of diversion, that some went back to school, some went back into, employment. Also the police force created a new unit, which is a gang suppression unit, guns and gangs suppression unit, which basically will focus on the gangs and the firearms that was prevalent in the community. That has reduced the number of incidents that we have. And so since the middle of the year coming down to the latter part, we haven't had much issues. Even during the school football season, where sometimes we used to have a lot of rivalry, had some fights, had some issues. We had hardly any reports during the last football season with the schools. So there has been some improvement. What I've been saying to my officers and what we want to say as a community, let us don't be complacent. Let us continue that fight. Let us continue to assist them, especially the young persons. Let us give them opportunities for diversion. Just as how the Prime Minister took the lead and interact with them, we can interact with them. The churches can interact with them. The community can interact with them instead of just having them, as outcasts in the community. We can see how we can do to reform those young minds and put them back on the right track. Forms of employment, some of them, they're very intelligent when it comes to running their own business. Let's give them the opportunity so they can do something substantial for themselves. So there has been an improvement, but we don't want to be complacent. We are now in the heart of the Christmas season where things can spike up. We are going into a new year. You don't know what the future holds. So it's not a matter of we haven't made progress, but at the same time, we don't want to be complacent.
We also had in Antigua a bit of, I don't know, not much, of these unsolved, murder situation. And I know the police, in some way, you have had great success. You had breakthrough. What are the plans as you continue to push ahead?
Well, as I say, in some cases, we had good success and we have solved some of the serious crimes that we have. There are still some that are still under investigation. We are looking at all angles. We are speaking to our partners. I think the challenge is that some persons think we have to tell them exactly when our partners are there. It is not wise. So we will be speaking to our regional and international partners. We will work along with them and see how we can get any form of assistance, because there are some technical assistance sometimes we need from our international and regional partners, and we will continue to pursue that. Also, some of the crimes that we solved, the public was very much involved in sharing information, and once again, we want to ask them, it is a good thing to do, to share that information, because when those things happen, there are persons in the public that know. There are persons in the public, and we are saying that is how we're going to keep Antigua safe. That's how we're going to keep Antigua, our heads above the others, is by we as a community stepping forward and addressing those issues. You know something happened, even if you don't want to give evidence in the matter, which we can't force you, but you can share the information. You can give the information to a policeman you trust. You can give it, in some cases, to ex-policemen, as I always say, because there are some ex-police officers that are still very much feel they are integral part of the organization. So if you give them the information, so you don't want to talk to me, you talk to somebody else, the information will filter to us that we can take action. And it doesn't matter how insignificant you might think it is. You might hear something, you might see something, share it with the police, so that we can continue our investigation, because we have some troubling cases that we are still trying to solve, and the public is quite aware of it, especially two young ladies. I mean, it is very troubling that we lose two young ladies, and then there was another case where we lose another youngster. So we're losing our young generation out of violence. And I'm saying those perpetrators should not be out there happily when we can bring the information and bring justice to the matter.
Here in Barbuda, we just, as you know, 3 young men went missing, and the police officers here played an integral part. Can you just give us an update of where that is? I don't know if you have any information, like the police person still on the lookout who's supposed to be searching. Where are we with that?
Well, my heart goes out to the family, and even while I was here for these few days, I had the opportunity to speak to the mother of one of the missing gentlemen. The aerial and the Marine section is run by the Defense Force.
Right.
They have been the lead on that. We've been talking to them, and we have seek assistance from our neighboring countries. Montserrat Coast Guard was part of the search, St. Kitts Coast Guard, plus Guadeloupe, Martinique, and there was both persons on the water and above the water. So far, we haven't seen any sign, and that is the disturbing thing. You're not hearing anything. Even when I was speaking to the mother and some of his siblings, we haven't heard anything from any other jurisdiction as to, okay, well, they have sighted a boat or they have sighted any debris. So we have nothing substantive to work with in recent time. But we're not giving up as yet. Even if the Marine section have a time that they would maybe call out the normal search and rescue and then move into the recovery stage, they are still out there trying to get information, because the hub that is responsible for this area is based in Martinique, and the Antigua and Barbuda Defense Force Coast Guard is still in contact with them to see if there's any new development or new information or new sighting anywhere. But our heart goes out to the family here at Barbuda, especially when you have 3 young men missing at the same time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Really hard on the community. Just want to remind our listeners and our viewers, you're just joining us. We are speaking, this is Monday the 23rd of December. We're speaking with Commissioner of Police, Mr. Atlee Rodney, and he's here in Barbuda. And thinking, Mr. Rodney, is there anything else maybe you just want to share, encourage the public, which I didn't make that ask, and maybe you want to share, inform the public on?
Well, as I said, we are now in the heart of the Christmas season. It is a time where we can be happy, but sometimes we can be a little complacent and we can be a little relaxed. From the police point of view, we are asking you to continue to be vigilant, continue to exercise, wisdom when you are shopping. There's a lot of shopping going to be taking place today and tomorrow, both in Barbuda and in Antigua. It's not just in Antigua, in Barbuda also. Be wise when you're moving around. This habit of some of us exposing money, because there are persons who will take advantage of the situation. So we want persons to be safe. When it comes to the driving, it is a bad time to have an accident any time of the year, much less for Christmas. You don't want to spend hospital in the hospital from an accident. So let's drive carefully. We keep saying that if you're drinking, you shouldn't be driving. So let us be responsible and look out for one another. Let us be our neighbor's keeper. In terms of the police force, we are committed to go the extra mile. Our Christmas operation in Antigua started on the 20th. After the funeral on the Thursday, from the Friday, we had a different operation that got started just for the Christmas season, that involved taking persons from the administrative offices, putting them together with the operational persons so that we could provide additional foot patrols in the city and in the outskirts. We also had to up the mobile patrol teams and them, so they are out there both in the day and in the night, making sure that persons can have a peaceful season. So the police force has been proactive and preparing for the season, and we're just asking the general public to support us. In Barbuda, as I said to the community of Barbuda, we continue to be your police force, and we will continue to look for means we can improve the service there. We know the challenges. We know that there's more personnel we can put on the ground, but we are thankful that those who are here are very much committed, they are very much dedicated to do the work. And I will just ask, let me deal with the Barbuda community, continue to support and know your police officers. I ask my police officers to know you. I'm asking you to know your police officers so you can interact with them. I'm thankful for what I'm seeing, just the interaction. Even during yesterday, I had the opportunity to visit 2 different churches, so there's 2 different groups that I had the interaction with. We are committed to work well with the people in Barbuda. For Antigua, your police force has committed men, has dedicated men, and in spite of the various challenges, we have that commitment to give the best service. The officers for this year, when we review our year, we realize we did a lot of training. And the training is basically to advance our capability and to make us much more efficient. The world is changing. And going forward, we have to start to think of new innovations, the use of the technology that is there, because it is out there and it's available, and in some cases very affordable. It's just a matter of you understanding what type of innovation you want to introduce. And obviously, you have to stay within your budget and within the resources that you have. But there is more we can do with the technology that we can improve policing in Antigua and Barbuda. So training is going to be part and parcel. I will continue, as for where I sit, encourage officers to continue to develop themselves and to be more efficient in what they're doing. Because, as I always say to them, an investment in your brain is very beneficial, at the end of the day. So these are some of the things we want to do. Obviously, we have to compete with other government departments. And sometimes all of us run to the same government. All of us go to the same treasury. Right. And the government have to make it priority, but we will continue to lobby for the improvement of especially the working condition in some of the areas. Starting with Barbuda, I think 2025 we should see some improvement, some better accommodation for the officers so that they can work in a more comfortable setting. And that applies to some areas in Antigua. We are thankful for what we got, because I'm not going to sit here and say nothing was done. There is improvement in some of the police stations. We saw Bolands, we saw All Saints, we've seen St. John's is almost complete. So we are seeing some progress, but there are some other critical areas that we would want improvement to be seen in the new year.
Well, thank you. Sorry about that. While we're doing this interview, we also broadcasting on Abundant Life Radio, which is a predominant Christian broadcasting station. A couple of weeks ago, we had an incident whereby one of our senior pastors, even one of my staff member here, I can say it, had to encounter a situation with robbers. What encouragement would you give? And not only that, I had the opportunity also about maybe a month ago or so to be the guest speaker at the International Antigua and Barbuda Independent Churches Association. Okay. I was speaking there, and then after the service, they had a little discussion which I sat in. And few complain of the break-ins that has been taking place in churches. What encouragement and what words of advice would you give to, pastors out there, bishops out there, in regards to safeguarding their property and also themselves? And what would you say to us? How can we go about that?
First, I have to say, we are all disappointed that we have come to that level in society that the churches are not immune to criminal activities. The schools are not immune. And that says something negative about our community. Mm-hmm. But if that is the reality, where persons do not respect a pastor, do not respect a church, if that is the reality that we are having, now pastors have a responsibility now to don't be complacent and take the necessary security precautions. I remember, and I'll go back, I remember the first time probably I visited Jamaica many, many years ago. Not that I'm saying Jamaica is bad. Right. But when I saw the piano in a burglary bar and the speakers in a burglary bar, I was like, why? And the guy said, because people will come here and steal them. And I was like, in a church? So for me to see it coming to Antigua now is very disappointing. Wow. But if that is the case, though, that we have to take those security measures, we have to do that. That's right. If people want to criticize the Christian community and say, well, we don't have faith, it's not a matter you don't have faith, you're being wise. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying you have to take the precautions. Whatever precautions, I won't go into the details here. Right. They know what I'm talking about. Whatever precaution you have to take, pastors, bishop, leaders, take them for your safety, because at the end of the day, your congregation need you to be safe. The nation need you to be safe. And once you are pursuing the legal means of enhancing your safety, that is acceptable. We do not want pastors to be vigilantes. We want pastors to follow the right procedures and seek the legal way of having their security enhanced. That's how I'll put it. So seek the advice, seek the information so that you can protect yourself. But if that is the reality, I hope it never happen. But how many churches has been broken in recent time? Quite a bit.
Wow.
And here again is the community have to help us. When they steal the speakers, the amplifiers, and all the technical equipment, where are they going with it? It is not something you consume. It is something you use. Are they being used in other fetes, in other areas? Our task is to find out, and as a community, we have to be mindful of that. So you can have persons taking your speakers and taking all your electronic equipment to do, as we say, going to work for the devil? No. We know the damnation will come to them, but if we can prevent it, it is better. So I am saying to my pastors, to the leaders in churches, take the necessary precautions and safeguard yourself, your family first, and then the things that God has entrusted to you to take care of, which is your church and the equipment of the church.
Awesome. I know that you have kind of scheduled here, but as we wrap things up, we are friends, we are brothers, and I want to appeal again, because we talk about the number of officers here in Barbuda. I didn't get you directly, but I spoke to one of your deputies, because I'm a little bit disappointed in the last training that we didn't have one person from Barbuda being a part of that. What assurance can you give? And as you say, Barbudans are coming forward. What I don't want is, as we continue to encourage them and they come forward, they are being put behind, and then people get discouraged and say, listen, maybe they don't need it, and they look other places. And we really need Barbudans to be officer. So I want you to now to take this opportunity to invite Barbudans, and I know yes, you have a number of say, but again, something, but let's just show them that, hey, we are looking for Barbudans, and it'll be good for them to step up to the plate.
Well, I must start by saying I was disappointed too. Okay. Because I came here early up in the year and I made the appeal. We did some interview. As a matter of fact, when I came the last time, I walked with the HR officer.
Right, I remember that.
And he did some interviews, and I was surprised. When at the end of the day, I was like, wait, none of them is from Barbuda? Because I was of the view that we had some successful candidates from Barbuda. We want officers from Barbuda. And I'm saying yesterday, which was a Sunday, I allowed a youngster to come to me. He's 18 years old, and did the interview with him. There are more persons who are interested. I was speaking to the inspector, and he said there's quite a few are expressing. So let me say to my Barbuda residents, we need police officers, we need fire officers from Barbuda. And I will encourage you, we are going into 2025 when we will be doing another recruiting program. Early part of the year, the process has started. So if you get the application form now and you fill it in so that you can be considered. We want more officers from Barbuda. We don't want the youngsters here being on the block or getting themselves in any kind of negative behavior. So I would appeal for citizens, residents in Barbuda to step forward and make yourself available. And yes, I will. I don't want to find out at the latter part. I want to find out earlier part how we're doing with the applicants from Barbuda. I'm not saying I'm going to guarantee I'm going to take everybody. But I am just saying I want to be in a position to know how they're doing and where their shortfalls are, what can be done so that we can have some more officers. Because I think in a community like Barbuda, you need to have some of your own people. They understand the culture better. Because when a new officer come over here, like the 3 new officers, none of them are from Barbuda. Right. They have to understand the Barbuda culture, their Barbuda, even just the geography of Barbuda. If you have somebody from Barbuda, when you tell them to go a certain part, they don't have to scratch their head and say, well, how am I getting there? They know where to go. Right. So you need persons with that local knowledge, that local culture, so they can understand. So yes, my appeal to Barbudans is step forward. Let us get the opportunity to interview you. Let us get the opportunity to see what you have to offer so that we can give you that opportunity to serve Antigua and Barbuda.
Okay, thank you. I just going to turn things down a little down now. We're in the season of Christmas. I'm talking to you now as, are you still a commissioner of brother Minister Deacon Atlee Rodney? What Christmas means to you as an individual? What do you look forward for during this time? Are you one who celebrates, or you just like tell me?
Yes, I do celebrate. I think Christmas is a special time, especially for family. It's a special time where you get to relax with your family and share some just reminisce of what happened for the year and spend some good time. So, Yeah, as a Christian, I celebrate the birth of Christ. I recognize the significance of that miracle. I listen to the Christmas story. You read those passages. I had a practice before that. Every time around Christmas, I go into Luke and I read the whole story again.
Okay.
And then now you get more into the Word. You hear persons telling you, well, it was right there in Isaiah too. It was there in Micah.
Yeah.
So go and look for that too. So you get an appreciation as to what really happened. And I celebrate Christmas. Easter is my big thing, but I celebrate
Right.
Christmas a lot. But what I like about it is the family, the family interaction, you just drive around as a police and you see the different families having dinners together, because that's what make our nation strong. If the families remain strong, the community will be strong. I mean, last night I had the opportunity at the Christmas program at the Pentecostal Church, and just to see those young persons going up there and give their, I don't want to I used to say recitation, but I learned a new word in Barbuda. The regulation,
I don't know if they have copyright on that, so.
I don't know if they have copyright on that, but it was fun, listening to those young persons, and especially some of them, you could see they were very young. They learned the recitation. They went up there. They repeated it as fast as they could, so they didn't want to make any mistake. But that is what Christmas brings to you. It brings that talent. It brings that camaraderie, and you could see from the younger ones to the elder persons that were there, they had a good time. And that's what Christmas is all about, bringing the community. Traditionally, you used to go from house to house. Some persons still practice that. So it is a good time. It's a good season that we can celebrate for the business people. It's the best time of the year. So they see the commercial aspect of it. But I think as Christians, we should never lose focus as to what it represents and who it represents. So once again, I just want to wish Antigua and Barbuda a very Merry Christmas, a prosperous 2025. And from the police point of view, we are committed to work with the public. And we are asking the public to work along with us. We're thankful for our stakeholders. Over the year, a number of persons has been there with us from the private sector, from different government departments, different government ministries, and different persons has stepped forward, and we want to say thanks. And once again, we are what we are in the police force because of the men and women on the street, the work that they do, and I want to say thanks to every police officer, those who even had some challenging times, some were sick. And as we go forward, I want to encourage them, continue to take good care of themselves, the mental health, the physical health, continue to take care of their own personal lives so that they can be happy on the inside so they can perform happily on the outside. So it was a good experience, and I just want to, because I'm in Barbuda, tell Barbuda people the police force love you, and we are determined to serve you and serve you to the best of our ability. But overall, the people of Antigua and Barbuda, your police force is happy to be of service to you.
Oh, awesome. You have just seen that, let me take off this, that special interview. Right, I need to go this side. Right, with the Commissioner of Police here in Antigua and Barbuda, Mr. Atlee Rodney. And Mr. Rodney, I want to just say this to you honestly, and without any bias. I must commend the Inspector of Police, Mr. Boyer, for the community effort. I think, we made some connection this year, and we doing some work, and the work that he's doing out there, right now I'm thinking he have something good going. And I must commend him. I must commend also Senior Sergeant Neil George from the fire department and these guys and the work that they've been doing. And, the whole transition, what they're doing is, yes, and I'm not saying this to say that they have it 100%. There's still, room for improvement. But where the police department in Barbuda, I'm being honest with you, maybe last year, I have seen a lot of improvement. And persons are saying that approachable, you can talk to them. And they're doing an awesome job. And I will pray that, they will continue, and that you will know that you have a team here in Barbuda that is really putting the image of the Antigua and Barbuda police force in a different dimension. That people are not just seeing them as, I remember I had several cases here whereby young men were, and I was able just to call the inspector, and we didn't just see them. Yes, you could have dealt with them. I'm being honest with you, especially one particular case. A young man came running to, knocking my door one morning, crying, and then I saw the young man maybe last week. And because he was given an opportunity, a chance, he now have a job. His image, the way he dressed, the way he behaved is much different. What if we did not give him a chance? And one thing the inspector said to me, it's not all about, locking up. It's about talking. And he had the opportunity of also making my job a little bit harder sometimes for me to come. So, listen to me, there's a young man who came. Listen to me. I know the work that you all have to do. There's a young man who came here 10 years old, but not from Barbuda. And he's like, I don't talk to my father. So I had to adopt him. And the guy, I'm seeing the guy coming to church now. So you see, and these are the things which, one life make a difference.
Yeah, that is true.
That is one, event. I remember when the guy came in, he said, to be honest with you, he said to me, I was coming home and I was wondering where I'm going to break in tonight. You understand me? But by talking, embracing him. So I thank God for the inspector and brother, George, for what they're doing and what you have even shared. Because I remember you came here and you said to them, go into the community, fellowship. And I've seen that they're doing that. And I must commend you also. I know you have a lot ahead and I want to encourage the community, and especially those of us in the Christian community. We're not just looking at a commissioner of police who is just somebody's a commissioner. He is also, and I'm talking for those in the Christian community, he is a man of God. And it's a key thing to have a man of God in that position at this end. That we pray him through. We pray for him as he goes to 2025.
And I also want to take this opportunity to thank you, because even speaking to the officers, they are very much happy with the assistance they're getting from you personally, especially in the counseling section and trying to divert those young persons. So I want to thank you and the rest of the pastors in the community for what they are doing, and other persons, because there is other persons in the community that have the young persons at heart.
Right.
And some are in the churches, some of them are just in different organizations, but they are trying to help the young persons. So I want to also commend you and the others for what y'all are doing. So keep up the good works, and as you say, if we work together, we can bring the difference that we want in our young persons and in the country on a whole.
Okay, I commend you once again. Thank you very much. And always a pleasure when you come to Barbados. This is your station. You're part of it. You helped me from since you were just not even commissioner. And so now our relationship have just grown. I sorry I didn't have something for us to eat, and celebrate life on the air.
I put on weight in the 2 days in Barbados.
You couldn't wait. I know that's what we wanted to do. So you will come back. Blessings. We greet all the folks. Folks, you have just listened to a very special interview with their friend, Commissioner. Any final thing?
Well, I just want to say thanks for the opportunity. As no matter what reason I am in Barbuda for, I always make it my point of duty to come and speak to you, speak to the community. And once again, I just want to leave them on a very happy note to say, this is Christmas 2024. In spite of all the challenges, let us go and celebrate, but let us celebrate in peace. Let us celebrate with family. Let us celebrate with that brotherhood and that sisterhood that we have. And never lose sight as to why we celebrate Christmas, because Jesus Christ was given to us so that we can have life eternal. So on behalf of the Royal Police Force of Antigua and Barbuda, and by extension my minister, my PS, and all those others affiliated with the police force, I say a Merry Christmas to one and all in Antigua and Barbuda, and may God bless us and give us a positive and a prosperous 2025.